A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo kesef. To the ancient Israelite, the horse was not a farm animal or a pet. It was the tank of the ancient world, a terrifying symbol of foreign military oppression and elite status. In fact, for a long time, biblical law actually discouraged the kings of Israel from even owning them. Today, we are looking at why the horse represented such a theological problem for the writers of the Hebrew Bible. Hello everyone, this is Gilgamesh. If you want to learn more about this topic, and I hope you do, I have some recommended reading in the description that I used in preparing this. Horses as symbols of power and warfare. Horses in the Hebrew Bible are almost exclusively associated with military power, royalty, and high status, rather than everyday life or agriculture. Military dominance. Horses were integral to cavalry and chariots, which were the premier military units of the ancient Near East. They are frequently depicted drawing chariots in warfare in Exodus 15:1, Isaiah 31:1, or Jeremiah 46:9, and are a symbol of human might and vanity in Isaiah 2:7-10. The swiftness of the horse is admired in poetic passages such as Job 39:17-25, and likened to eagle's wings, wolves, and leopards in Jeremiah 4:13. Royal and elite status. Ownership of horses was a clear mark of wealth and power in Deuteronomy 17:16. Kings and nobles used horses for transportation in Esther 6:8-9, and their presence implied a military escort of grandeur in Ezra 2:66. The Amarna letters attest to the honor bestowed upon a messenger furnished with a horse. Chariot forces. Kings like Solomon and Ahab are credited with significant chariot forces. Solomon is said to have had 12,000 horsemen and 1,400 chariots stationed in chariot cities and Jerusalem in 1 Kings 10:26. Ahab is credited with 2,000 chariots at the Battle of Karkar in 853 B.C.E. In Shalmaneser III's account, a figure that has been debated but highlights the perceived military strength, the importance and the economic burden of chariot forces are widely attested in the Hebrew Bible, such as Deuteronomy 17:16. Archaeological evidence. Archaeological findings support the military significance of horses. Tripartite pillared buildings, initially identified as stables, have been found at sites like Megiddo, Beit Shemesh, Lachish, Hazor, Beersheba, and Tel Kinrot, suggesting their function as garrisons for chariot troops. These stables at Megiddo are now often linked with the time of Jeroboam II, suggesting Israel's specialization in horse breeding for its own military and potentially for the Assyrian Empire. Assyrian records, known as horse lists, even indicate a special Israelite chariot unit incorporated into the Assyrian army under Sargon II. The existence of a horse gate in Jerusalem by exilic times further indicates the connection of horses to political power and royal precincts. Horses in religious and cultic contexts. Horses also appear in contexts with religious or cultic implications, sometimes reflecting foreign influences or divine imagery. The sun cult. In Judah, kings dedicated horses to the sun, suggesting the adoption of Mesopotamian cultic practices. White horses, for instance, had important ritual functions in Assyria and were associated with gods like Ashur and Sin. Shamash, the sun god, was depicted riding a horse-drawn chariot on festal days. Divine warrior imagery. The Lord is sometimes depicted with imagery associated with horses and chariots, particularly in storm theophanies. Habakkuk 3:8 and 15 describe the Lord riding upon your horses, upon your chariot of victory. This motif extends to the divine armies of the Lord riding on chariots with horses in 2 Kings 2:11 and 6:17. Eschatological symbolism. In Zechariah's visions, Horses serve as agents of divine surveillance in Zechariah 1, 8 through 10, and later symbolize the war machine of God's people, which will be obviated by a peaceful future ruler in Zechariah 9:10. In an eschatological age, even horses' bells are envisioned as being inscribed, "Holy to the Lord," signifying the co-option of symbols of warfare and human political aggression into the divine realm, marking the termination of conflict. Common experiences with horses. Despite the prominence of military and royal narratives, the average Israelite experience with horses was very limited. They were not beasts of burden. Unlike oxen and donkeys, which served primarily as beasts of burden and for agriculture, horses were not extensively used in agriculture or transport in the Near East. The normal mode of transport for ordinary citizens and burdens was the donkey. Expense and scarcity. Horses were foreign to the Levant and very expensive to acquire and maintain. This made them a luxury and status symbol, largely restricted to royalty and the very wealthy. Limited Israelite cavalry. Israelite armies, particularly in earlier periods, did not extensively use cavalry, fighting mainly on foot, especially in mountainous terrain. This is reflected in David's act of hamstringing captured chariot horses, possibly to prevent them from being used against him or due to a ritual code. Sennacherib's taunt to Hezekiah suggesting Judah could not provide riders for 2,000 horses highlights this historical reality in 2 Kings 18:23. Deuteronomistic caution. The Deuteronomistic law of the king explicitly warns against accumulating many horses in Deuteronomy 17:16, reflecting a theological concern about reliance on military might rather than divine protection. This perspective suggests a skepticism toward the military royal symbolism of horses. Historical introduction. The domesticated horse, Equus caballus, was introduced in the ancient Near East from Central Asia sometime before the 4th millennium BCE. While known in the 3rd millennium BCE, horses only became widely used in the mid-2nd millennium BCE after the period of Abraham's lifetime, which explains their absence in Abraham narratives. Cavalry, as opposed to horse-drawn chariots, made its first appearance in the 1st millennium BCE. Mules as royal mounts. Interestingly, in the time of David, the mule, not the ass or horse, appears to have been the riding animal of royalty, as in 2 Samuel 13:29. This suggests that horses were still relatively scarce or not yet the primary royal mount in Israel before Solomon's reign. Sum it all up, horses in the Hebrew Bible represent a powerful, often awe-inspiring, but also potentially problematic symbol of military and royal strength. While they were central to the geopolitical landscape and divine imagery, they remained largely outside the direct experience of the common Israelite, who relied on donkeys for daily transport and whose religious traditions sometimes cautioned against over-reliance on equine military power. I hope you found this useful. If you'd like to support the channel and help me bring more content like this, please consider a membership if you're in a position to do so. Shalom.